Hello, Suzanne. How you doing this evening? We're going to do another episode, another interview, and today is St. Patrick's Day. So you want to tell us something about that day, or the customs, or iconography?
How many people do you imagine know what a shamrock looks like?
I'm pretty sure a lot of people know what a shamrock looks like.
Well, the fact is that a shamrock has three portions or petals. However, the petals converge and sustain themselves on a single stem. So using that example, St. Patrick used the shamrock to explain the nature of the Blessed Trinity to the native Irish.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Father, Son, and Holy Spirit,
Right.
three in one, like the way the shamrock has the three petals that converge onto one stem. For people who may not have shamrocks in their immediate areas, we're just about to start spring now. Now, when we get farther into it, a great many lawns will have clover blossoms in them, and well, that's where you usually find the occasional lucky four-leaf clover, but the overwhelming majority of clover blossoms are three in portion, just like shamrocks. So if later this spring you wanted to pick up a couple of clovers and examine them to see how the three portions converge onto the one stem, then you'll remember St. Patrick explaining the Blessed Trinity to the native Irish using a native plant, the shamrock. Four-leaf clovers are very hard to find. So you have much better luck teaching yourself about the Trinity or following St. Patrick's example by picking three-leaf clovers.
I see. So that's why I guess if you find four, that'll be good luck.
Yes, but also because four has nothing to do with the religious analogy that St. Patrick made between the native plant, the shamrock, and the concept of the Trinity, three persons in one God.
Right. So how do you feel about shamrock shakes?
What about a shamrock shake?
What, do you like them? You don't like them?
No, I don't like them. When they first came out, I was working in Philadelphia. Now, at that time, they were just vanilla milkshakes with green food color added, and that was how I liked them. But then they began mixing shamrock shakes in bulk, a compound, and then I would no longer get the shamrock shakes because although they're green, they're not the right shade of green, and they're mint flavored. I don't care for mint.
Oh, I see. So they're no longer vanilla now; they're minty.
Shamrock shakes have been advertised for a great many years and made available. Well, this year they haven't been. But shamrock shakes are always green and they're always mint flavored.
Mm-hmm. So when did they switch from vanilla to mint?
I don't know. Quite some time back. But I make a point, if I can, to get a vanilla milkshake from any fast food chain and put green food color into it.
Okay, so you would make your own with the flavor that you like.
Yeah, I'm doing it the way they first did when they came out as vanilla shakes with green dye.
Right. So.
And the green dye that I use produces the proper shade of green, Kelly green.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but you like to be authentic, so that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay, so what else you would know about the day of St. Patrick?
Well, St. Patrick's Day is probably celebrated worldwide. There's the expression "everybody's Irish" for St. Patrick's Day. Well, but there are a great many people all over the world that don't have a drop of Irish blood in them.
Yeah, but they could have a drop of beer.
Oh.
And that's something you don't like.
No, because, see, it has to do with my experiences with being in St. Patrick's parades. Now, for those of you who didn't know, prior to my first St. Patrick's parade, I made up a character, Irish Cinderella. She wears a white gown with a lot of gold and green decorations. And she simply walks. Now, if a St. Patrick's parade is held and the weather is rather cold, I wear either a green or white maxi cape over my gown.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to put a picture of that out too, because I have some shots of that.
Unfortunately, my experience in St. Patrick's Parade hasn't been all that pleasant. The very first one I was in Atlantic City. Now, and it was on the boardwalk. I arrived on the boardwalk in the area where everybody was supposed to line up, and I sought a lineup person who had a clipboard and told me which spot was mine. But when I came to the spot, there was a float right behind me with some teenage boys who yelled at me to go away. You're not part of our group! And I had to explain to them I was told to be here, but they still yelled and hollered and even threw things at me.
Well, that's not very nice.
Another lineup person advised me to move one step forward of what was either another float or perhaps an antique car. But I had to leave my purse with somebody, so I left it on the float where the bad boys were. Now, while I was marching, I was perfectly okay. But then when we came to the end of the route, I still had to get my purse back from those boys. And when they saw me coming and I called that I needed my purse back, the boys picked up my purse and tossed it around as if playing catch ball with it. And then they finally threw it out onto the beach.
Okay, well, that's terrible. And did anyone help you out?
No. I had to climb over the fence and onto the beach to get my purse back. And it was all full of sand.
Well, were they drinking, or did they have just, or they were just really bad people?
They might have been drinking, which is disgraceful about underage drinking, the problem with it, or what you said before about a draught of beer. I'm sure they people who use St. Patrick's Day as an excuse to get drunk and behave irresponsibly, no doubt drink liquor that's much stronger than beer. The next year that I was in a St. Patrick's Parade, unfortunately, it was after Howard Stern had first had his way with me, and I was dressed as Irish Cinderella again, but the problem of the spectators and some of the other entries heckling me by repeating lewd statements or questions that Stern had made started many years of suffering.
So did you ever have a good experience in St. Patrick's Day, or are they all terrible?
Oh yes, I had some good experiences. After a while, people came to recognize my costume, and they look forward every year to seeing Irish Cinderella. once I tried to get a boyfriend to be my Prince Charming, but he wasn't enthusiastic about being in parades. Now, if some respectable man wanted to be my Irish Prince Charming, I would make his costume, but I would not make his costume white like mine is. Most likely, he'd look better in Kelly Green. For one thing, you take the original Cinderella story. Cinderella and the prince were complete strangers to each other. They had no idea how each other would dress for the ball.
Right. So that's keeping up with your authentic kind of theme. So you mentioned a couple of minutes ago that once you tried to get a boyfriend to be in, but he didn't like being in parades.
I asked a long-time man friend of mine if he ever wanted to do it, but he wasn't all that enthusiastic about it. So I've been a loner Irish Cinderella for at least 20 years.
Okay, because when you used the word boyfriend, I said you never introduced me to anyone as your boyfriend or mentioned somebody as your boyfriend, so I was surprised. But it was just a boy who was a friend, or man who was a friend?
A man who's a friend, yes.
Okay. Just to make that clear, because I'm sure that would have got some questions from the audience.
I should have been in a St. Patrick's parade on Saturday 13th, but it was called off. That's the second year in a row it's been called off because of the pandemic. In the last few years, that site, Wilmington, Delaware, in sending out the brochures and entry blanks to fill out and send back, said that they had so much trouble with spectators and participants who would use the excuse to become drunk and irresponsible. They restricted any drinking and then beer only in this one big city block, which is at the end of the route and is directly across the street from, of all things, St. Patrick's Cathedral.
Right. So because you're Irish background, right? You're Irish ethnically. Yeah.
I'm mixed British, Irish, and German.
I see. So do you find this like embarrassing that the Irish, there's so many of them drinking and engaging in kind of disorderly conduct instead of paying attention to actual meaning of St. Patrick's Day?
Well, I've seen some St. Patrick's parade floats in which they do use St. Patrick, but they make it look comical. He wears the bishop's habit, but he's made to wear a fluffy white beard like Santa Claus would wear, and instead of his official hat, the mitre, he wears a leprechaun hat.
Right. So do you find that offensive, the leprechaun hat?
Yes. They're distorting the image of St. Patrick by making him wear the wrong kind of headdress.
Right. How do you feel about people who dress as leprechauns?
Well, people really would kind of expect that. Let me tell you that if a theater company were staging the Cinderella story all Irish style, the leprechaun would be a perfect equivalent for the fairy godmother.
Okay, well, how so? Can you explain that to the audience?
The standard Cinderella tale tells of a fairy godmother, a fairy who realizes that Cinderella doesn't have any good clothes and is mistreated by her stepmother and sisters. So she comes to Cinderella's aid by providing her with a beautiful gown and footwear and transportation in a big coach. But she warns that the magic will last only till midnight, at which point Cinderella has to leave, or or she changes back into her grimy self.
Okay, but what?
So if you were doing what?
No, go ahead.
So if you were doing, so like I said, if a theater company was doing the Cinderella story entirely in the Irish mode, they wouldn't have a fairy godmother. They'd have a leprechaun, since they're supposedly magical.
Okay, but it have to be a sober leprechaun. It would have to be a sober leprechaun. We don't want a drunk one.
Yes.
Okay, so what would you replace the beer with? Is there appropriate beverage that wouldn't be alcoholic?
If the homeland has a lot of abundant water supplies, lakes and streams and such, then I'd say plain water or perhaps mineral water.
Okay, well, that would be much better for you. Mineral water is good.
Yes.
All right. Anything else that we should know?
We've talked about people who make St. Patrick's Day an excuse to get drunk and behave irresponsibly. Now, I've seen that for myself in the St. Patrick's parades I've been in, but they were all in the United States. I don't know if such perverse conditions exist in the homeland.
Well, no. I guess we'll have to go there to find out.
I can't afford to make the trip.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens next year. Maybe we can get Underdog to help us.
It wouldn't be appropriate for me to do Underdog St. Patrick's Day because he does a parade because he's not Irish in background and he wears the wrong colors.
Okay. Well, I just meant he can fly there to find out. All right. Well, thank you, Suzanne, and reminding us about true meaning of St. Patrick's Day and what's important and what we should stay away from. So, what are you going to be doing for that day?
I did buy myself a vanilla milkshake. So when it's dinner time, I'll put green food color in it, and I hope to be eating chicken.
Okay, why chicken?
I love chicken. It's my favorite meat.
Oh, okay. I thought it was something to do with Irish. I thought it was like the corned beef kind of thing. But okay,
I ate corned beef while I was growing up, but I couldn't stand the taste of it. It felt as if you had taken perfectly good beef, and watered it down.
I see. How do you feel about shepherd's pie?
I've heard the name, but I don't know what it consists of.
Oh, it's like it's ground beef and can have peas and mashed potatoes, kind of layered with some gravy. So you never had it? You never had it, I guess.
No.
Oh.
Because I was made to believe that was a British food, not an Irish food. Prior to the 1996 Olympics, I worked on a newsletter, and when it came to listing what's to eat at the Olympics, well, the 1996 Olympics were the 100th anniversary of the modern games. So I made a section that called "What's to Eat at the Olympics," and I listed all the countries that had served as hosts and numbers of their native foods, and Ireland was not on the list. England was, and shepherd's pie was one of their entries.
All right, so can we wrap it up? Or you might add something else to this holiday special?
If I have maybe an extra minute, I can sing part of a famous Irish song.
Okay, well, go ahead. Let's introduce the song and go for it.
There are a set of traditional words to what's called an old Irish blessing, but it doesn't have any one setting. The setting I'll be doing is the setting done by Dennis Gay, at which my church choir does as part of the service on the Sunday closest to St. Patrick's.
Okay, well, I'd love to hear it. So let's close with that song.
Okay. May the Lord rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. The sun shine there above your face. The rain will fall above your ears, and until you meet again, may God, may God, may God put you in the palm of His heart. May the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make His face to shine upon you and give you peace. May the Lord hold you in the palm of His hand.
Good job there, Suzanne. And what is that song again? What is that piece called?
Old Irish Blessing.
I see. Very nice. Very nice. I never heard you sing that before.
Well, that's because it's, restricted to a certain geographical area. I think many homeland Irish wish it upon their family members and neighbors when they meet together for the sake of goodwill.
Thank you. That was a very nice way to close it. It's a little bit shorter interview about St. Patrick's Day, and thank you again.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care, Suzanne. Bye.